Good morning, everyone. I hope our day is blessed. The prayer today will be offered by the wonderful delegate and chair of the Black Caucus from Baltimore County.
Assume the position that you choose for prayer. Bold tongues to speak the truth, I know I should. Keen eyes to pierce the gloom that hides some good. Strong arms to lift the fallen from the clay. 2 hands to guide the wanderer to the way. These gifts, my God, I'll use for thee where thou sendest willingly. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Give our colleagues a second. You can take a deep breath. Don't worry about it. We'll wait. Anyone in the back? Okay. The clerk will call the roll. There being 124 members present, the House is now in session. The clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February 11th, 2026.
Recognize the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the journal.
So order petitions, memorials, and other papers. We have a couple of House resolutions, and I'm going to recognize the gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good morning. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I wish you all will join me in something here. It's my pleasure to welcome the Kent Island High School boys lacrosse team, the winners of the 2025 2A Maryland State Boys Lacrosse Championship for Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. Of note, this is the 3rd state title in 4 years for the Buccaneers, of which it's my home school, not the one I went to, but my home school in my county. Please join me in congratulating the Kent Island Boys Lacrosse team, head coach Bobby Woolley, Robert Woolley, athletic director Kate Beaton, and accepting the resolution on behalf of their team are Connor Byrne and Logan Donovan. Congratulations.
Will the clerk please read the resolution in full?
Be it hereby known to all that the House of Delegates of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to the Kent Island 2025 Boys Lacrosse team in recognition of your hard work, dedication, and teamwork in winning the 2005 Maryland Public School Athletic Association Class 2A Boys Lacrosse State Championship. The entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution to be presented on this 12th day of February 2026.
Go. All right. Baltimore City bond resolutions. The clerk will read the resolution.
Baltimore City 2026 Loan Authorization Resolutions.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the bond resolutions.
So order. Hearing no objection, the resolutions have been ordered, read, and journalized. Consent calendar of introductory House Bill number 46. The clerk will read the first bill. Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
House Bill 1248, Delegate Wolick, appropriations.
Okay. Hearing no objection, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committees. I have to recognize the Deputy Majority Leader. Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Okay, so much be considered the reading of HB 1248 through HB 1222, so 1299.
Okay, so House Bill 1248 through House Bill 1299 have been read. Hearing no objection, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committees. Consent calendar, introductory House Bill number 47. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 1300, Delegate Hill, government, labor, and elections.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you. So much be considered the reading of HB 1300 through HB 1340.
Hearing no objection, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committees. Consent calendar of introductory House Bill number 48. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 1341, Delegate Eppersole, Judiciary and Ways and Means.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
So much be considered the reading of HB 1341 through HB 1357.
Hearing no objection, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committees. The clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignment.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 32, February 12, 2026, referred to appropriations. Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 33, February 12, 2026, referred to appropriations.
And I want to welcome the new clerk. Special order calendar, House Bill 28. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 28, Higher Education, Private Career Schools Advertising, favorable report adopted.
Recognizing the maker of the motion. Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam
Good
Speaker.
morning.
All my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional amendments to the bill as to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Special order, calendar House Bill 226. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 226, Department of Disabilities, Housing Programs, and Affiliated Foundations, Establishment, favorable report as amended adopted.
Recognizing the maker of the motion, the delegate from Anne Arundel County. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
I got an amendment at this. Amendment number is 973122.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much to be considered a reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to take a moment and say thank you to the chair of the subcommittee for graciously giving me your time and working this out together. This amendment makes it clear that any affiliated foundation can only raise funds or provide support if it cannot run government programs, make decisions, or set policies. All authority over programs, eligibility, and public policy must remain with the department and the state, not a private foundation. With that, I move the amendment.
Madam Speaker?
Yes, recognizing the leader on the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to my good friend from Anne Arundel County for sharing this amendment, meeting with me late after work 2 days ago to go through the idea and workshop the language. This amendment, colleagues, makes this bill better. Our subcommittee and our full committee will accept this as a friendly amendment. Thank you.
Thank you for working it out and for giving the courtesy and making the time We really appreciate it. So the question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Are there additional amendments to the bill as to its title? Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk. The amendment is 233021.
Amendment number 1.
Moves to be considered the reading amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you kindly. This amendment
You're welcome.
restores normal conflict of interest protections, keeping family and related colleagues off of the related boards. It ensures state employees are not both regulators and fundraisers, and it closes the loophole that allows family members to serve in these capacities. It also restores the public ethics application, which was removed in the original bill. As we've seen many cases with these non-government organizations, there tends to be a lapse of oversight, and I think this amendment, like the previous, is an effort in good government oversight. With that, I would ask support, and I move the amendment.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you to my good friend from Baltimore County. We go way back to our days in judiciary many years ago for sharing a copy of the amendment with me. In general, it is a very, very, very good idea. I would agree with the maker of the amendment. It is a great idea to ensure that foundations and that all of our government entities are abiding by state ethics rules. In fact, it is such a great idea that the underlying bill actually includes a cross-reference on lines 16 through 19 in page 4 to 4 different sections of our state ethics law, including the section that he pulls out here today, which would require or would prohibit family members from being hired by this foundation. The challenge is that in drafting this amendment, my good friend accidentally, I'm confident, struck out other ethics provisions that are included in the underlying bill. Including the requirement the requirement to submit financial disclosures, the requirement to not accept improper gifts. There are other ethics rules that are included in section 5501 through 5504 of the general provisions article. I did print these out just so that I'd have them handy, but because in drafting this amendment to improve ethics in the foundation, the maker of the amendment accidentally actually dropped all of the ethics provisions out of the bill. I would urge the body to please resist this amendment. Thank you.
Recognizing the maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
That may be a part of the amendment, but if so, that is most assuredly an error in drafting. And I think with the scope of this bill, this is a really significant bill that delegates a ton of authority, and for which, if implemented, this body will see significant amounts of money, both public and private, go through. So with that said, I think the amendment in spirit is a really good one. I think this issue is a significant one, and if there are errors in the amendment, I think the appropriate action here is to have the committee take it up, have a look, and tighten it up as to the best of our ability. So with that, I'd move the amendment.
Sorry, one moment.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate my good friend's comment here on the importance and significance of the work of an affiliated foundation. We did just adopt, in fact, an amendment on the floor by the good friend of ours here in the back from Anne Arundel County. And just to read this aloud, the purpose of the amendment was to restrict the foundation from making, influencing, or participating in determinations regarding all aspects of the program or services supported by the department. They may not establish, influence, or implement public policy, priorities, eligibility criteria. And so while the maker of the amendment's point is quite strong, we already have limited, by adopting this excellent amendment on the floor, we have limited the ability of the foundation to actually restrict or to dictate policy of the administration. So thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you to the maker amendment. Still urge the body to resist.
The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say no. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? The clerk will take the call. There being 95 votes in the negative, the amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill as to its title? Seeing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Special order calendar, House Bill 229.
House Bill 229, Maryland Transportation Authority Revenue Bond Limit Increase. Favorable report adopted.
Recognizing the maker of the motion.
Thank you.
Recognizing, go ahead, the delegate from Southern Maryland.
Good morning, Madam
Good
Speaker.
morning.
Thank you. I have an amendment at the desk. Amendment number 223124.
Amendment number 1.
So be considered reading an amendment?
So be it. So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
So friends, what this bill does is it gives the Maryland Transportation Authority another $1 billion in borrowing authority. And that's concerning to me because last year, under the Port Authority bill, we gave them $1 billion of borrowing authority. So this would be $2 billion of borrowing authority.
Can we just ask what the amendment does?
Will you be so kind, sir, and explain what the amendment does?
I am. So I've got to describe the bill first. So this is $2 billion of borrowing authority
But
for
can I
the
ask
Maryland
you-
Transit Authority.
Sir, 1 second, my friend. Can you just describe what your amendment does and then get into the bill, okay? Thank you.
So on page 2 of the amendment, there's new language at the top. The authority may not increase tolls, fees, or other charges or any other part of fixed tolls, transportation facilities, projects, or increase mileage rates. So basically what this amendment does is stop toll increases from going into effect without the General Assembly voting on it. And the reason for this is we've raised $2 billion of bonding authority for the Maryland Transit Authority. Every dollar government spends is a dollar they need to collect from somebody else. And what I'm afraid of is this bill, combination with the other bills, are going to drive toll increases higher. And I'm waiting for with that, I'll move the amendment, Madam Speaker. I'm really curious and seeing what the floor leader has to say. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And thank you so much. I recognize the floor leader.
Good morning, and thank you, Delegate, for providing the amendment last night. It was very helpful. I just want to explain to the body that this is a very simple bill. It increases the bonding capacity from $4 billion to $5 billion to accommodate the rebuilding of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And the reason that it has to go up to $5 billion is because although the federal government has pledged 100% payment for the bridge, Maryland must forward fund the bridge until that reimbursement takes place, which can be as long as a year. So we need to increase the bonding to $5 billion in order to accommodate the larger price tag of the bridge. That is all this bill is about. The maker of the amendment wants us not to be able to increase tolls, or wants the MDTA not to be able to increase tolls. Is that correct? Without approval from the Maryland General Assembly. And so what we need to understand there is that the bond rating which MDTA has from Moody's toll sector, is a AA2, which is the highest awarded to a toll-supported system in the country. There are only 3 other toll systems in the country that have had that high of a bond rating. And why is that? A major factor in that high rating is the independent rate-setting authority provided by statute to MDTA, independent board. So the implication of this amendment is that MTDA bond rating would be downgraded if they lose that independent rate setting authority, which would actually divert capital dollars to higher interest rates on bonds. Further, there is a robust public process for setting rates, which I can go into in detail if you would like me to. But that provides all types of feedback from the General Assembly and from the public when rates are set. So for those reasons, I would ask the body to resist this amendment.
Recognizing the maker of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a quick response on that. I believe, and a quick question for the floor leader. Didn't MTA receive a bond downgrade last year?
Floor leader. Recognizing the chair of the committee.
Let me ask the maker of the amendment a question. Can you describe?
Well, can you
to this
answer that
body-
question first?
No, I'll ask you a question back. Can you
now
describe
we're
to the
just gonna
body?
answer Chair question.
Hold on 1 second. It may require that he needs to ask a question to be able to get all the information to answer your question. So let's just have a little flexibility. He'll get to it. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Absolutely, Madam Speaker. That's absolutely true. Because you're conflating these things, and I'm not sure you, maybe I'm wrong, so let's see if I am. Not sure you understand the difference. What is the difference between the MTA, you keep talking about the MTA, and the MDTA?
One deals with tolls, the other one deals with transportation projects.
No, that's not accurate. Let me tell you, the MDTA is our tolling facilities. They run things like the Chesapeake Bay Bridge and other tolling facilities around our state. The MDTA raises money for those facilities specifically. In fact, the money raised by the MDTA for things like the Bay Bridge cannot even be moved to the TTF, the Transportation Trust Fund. It can't be moved to the general fund. The money they collect for tolling facilities has to be spent at tolling facilities. The MTA is the Maryland Transit Authority that runs things like the light rail in Baltimore and things of that nature. It is totally and separate and has nothing to do with the MDTA and had nothing to do with tolls. The money that you're talking about for MTA has nothing to do with this bill and nothing to do with the MDTA.
This bill's on
And this is why,
MDTA.
sir,
Hold on 1 second. Let's one at a time. And I'm going
this
to
is-
come back to you, the maker of the motion. I'm going to give
Thank
you
you.
all the time you need. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And this is why we'd ask, no shame, you're not on the committee, we'd ask people who are putting floor amendments to come to the committee and work with us, like the gentleman from Anne Arundel County did, so that we can kind of explain this before we have to get to the floor to explain that what you're talking about, sir, just doesn't make any sense. And so I'll yield back to the
With
floor
all
leader.
due respect, I really disagree with you.
Okay.
Because I just asked a question, you didn't answer it. Did MTDA or MDTA, did they receive a bond decrease last year?
No.
No. Okay. Then that's all you had to say. And as far as working with the committee, I gave you the amendment a day and a half ago when we were walking across the lawn. So don't try to like portray that you just got you're some victim that I just handed it to you.
Okay, let's not do that. Okay, we were doing well. We will have the back and forward. We will have the back and forward. I'm going to give you as much time as you need.
All right, let me finish up.
1 second, 1 minute. Recognizing the parliamentarian.
Thank you, colleagues. And I know sometimes when we speak, we're a little motivated and energetic. I'm always guilty of that. I would just ask that, that we try not to take offense when people are merely, are explaining their positions, but more to the point. I know I always interrupt people while they're talking, which is also why I carry a pad with me. So when people are saying things and you know that you might disagree, if you could just write them down instead of and allow them to at least put their microphone down before you respond, just so we can have it smooth. And I understand this is an exciting debate. They're all going to be. You look like you're ready to ask me a question. But I would just say, if we could just slow the pace and just let the other person speak before you interrupt. Thank you.
And I would say that I wish the same courtesy would be afforded to the people making the amendment,
And
which just didn't unfold here. So look, we're good. Let me respond, and I'll be all right.
I just want to be clear, that wasn't targeted. That really is for everyone.
Everyone.
Don't interrupt somebody when they're talking. Don't call the question. Don't stop them. Let them do it. Let them do it.
Now you know where that's coming from, right? You know where it's coming from.
That really was meant for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, should we move the previous question? No, just kidding.
Yeah, I was just thinking I can make that motion on top of that, Speaker. All right, so let me respond to the actual amendment here. On the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
The reason why it's important for the General Assembly to vote on this is because right now the MDTA board votes whether toll increases should come up. And basically the governor has almost a veto-proof majority on this board because he appoints the board, and it's the chair of the board that has veto power over the entire board. And I just want to read you some notes from their November meeting. Based on the current forecasted estimates beginning in FY 28, which starts in July 27, which is 16 months from now, 17 months from now, a system-wide toll increase will be necessary to maintain 2 times the debt service coverage throughout the remainder of the 2026 through 31 forecast period. So all this borrowing is going to result in toll increases. Point blank, it's coming. Majority of people say we want to talk about affordability. Right here it is. Here's the affordability. You going to work every day. And when it comes down to it, before these toll increases go into effect, I think your elected representative should take a vote on it. We shouldn't be outsourcing tough decisions. That's what this amendment's about. You're representative of the people. You should be accountable for the positions that you put them in. And with that, Madam Speaker, I'll move the amendment. Thank you.
And thank you so much. Recognizing the floor leader.
And yes, again, I would ask the body to resist the amendment. A vote for this amendment actually constricts the amount of funding available to our road facilities. And if you want to see your bridges maintained, you want to see that extra span on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, you want to see the Key Bridge constructed, then you will allow the MDTA to maintain their independent rate-setting authority because it provides the least expensive financing available for these facilities. So therefore, I ask you to resist this amendment.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County, and then I'm coming over here. I saw you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the floor leader rise, please? Good morning.
Good morning.
So the authority that sets these tolls, are they elected?
They're appointed.
So they don't face voters ever?
Correct.
So they could raise the toll without this body having to answer for it?
Correct.
How much is the toll right now to get through the Fort McHenry?
I am not aware of that amount off the
Well,
top of my
that's
head.
important that you know. Maybe the committee chair can answer that question. He doesn't know either. Well, for those of us that drive through the tunnel, my seatmate here that got here a little late because the terrible traffic, he can tell you how much it is. I can tell you how much it is. It's $3 each way, which is $6 round trip every day. Can you tell us what Governor Hogan did? Did he raise or lower this toll?
He lowered the toll.
Yes, he did. I'm glad you have somebody there helping you answer. So the toll.
That is not, okay, excuse me, 1 minute. The parliamentarian, please. Thank you.
Colleagues, again, and I understand that it wasn't intended to be offensive, but if we can please just try to use a little civility when we're talking to each other, because sometimes our quips are offensive. And I understand it probably wasn't meant to be that way, but yes, she does have people talking to her because not everybody knows everything at one time. So if we just give each other, as Madam Speaker says, a little grace, please, when we're talking, we're discussing, and just because they don't remember it, that doesn't mean they don't know the subject matter information.
Okay, that might apply to my friend from St. Mary's as well when he was being questioned. Thank you.
That's why I stood up to talk to everyone.
I appreciate you not impugning my motives, and it was not meant that way. Thank you. But I will tell you that Governor Hogan lowered the tolls by $1 each way, which for folks that use these facilities, that's a lot of money. So the floor leader, when this letter came out saying they're going to raise tolls again, was that before or after this bill that said that you want another $1 billion?
Delegate, which letter are you referring to?
The letter, I'm sorry, I'm glad to clarify. The letter that my friend from St. Mary's was talking about, that the MDTA, so we'll try to get this alphabet soup right for my chairman of appropriations. There was a letter that came out that said they are going to be raising tolls. Did that letter come out before you requested another $1 billion?
I believe that the idea that we were going to have to raise tolls started when the governor Hogan reduced the tolls, which increased the amount of debt we had to take on. So this is not something new. When you decrease the tolls, you have less capital dollars. And further, if we concede that Governor Hogan, although it really is the MDTA board, if you believe Governor Hogan lowered the tolls, then you would also say that the next governor could raise the tolls through the MDTA board, which means there is political accountability in that toll increase and decrease.
So thank you, floor leader. We would agree to disagree on that. And I stand to support this amendment. Toll increases are huge for those of us that live in the Baltimore region. Those of us and our constituents that you have to go through a tunnel, hopefully over the bridge again sooner rather than later, to get to work and back. And these are real expenses for working families. These are real expenses for people. So if the toll needs to be raised, this body, who are elected, who taxpayers can hold accountable, should make that vote. And you know that whether the bonding authority agents, the rating agencies, let me get my words straight, the rating agencies know this body's happy to pass taxes. It's been in their opinions in the past. I disagree that it would hurt the bond rating, and I think that taxpayers deserve to know when their tolls are raised who will answer for that, and it's people like us who represent them. So this is a good amendment that will bring accountability and let voters know who to hold accountable when tolls are raised. Thank you.
Recognizing the delegate from Southern Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I
You're
do
welcome.
have a couple of questions for the floor leader. Good morning.
Good morning.
One of the underlying parts of the bill that I think that is important to discuss, and presumably is discussed in appropriations, and I'm sure it is, and perhaps you can give some transparency on this, is why is it costing so much and why is it taking so much time to replace this bridge? Do we have any information on that? Because the bill is really about that, and the amendment is kind of about that too, directly about that, because it goes to what people pay to cross the Key Bridge.
The chair is itching to take this question.
Recognizing the chair of the committee.
I mean, it's not taking a long time. This is a big $5 billion project in the middle of a deep water harbor. It's actually moving, as these things go, fairly quickly. So the premise of your question is just, I don't agree with it.
So the other part of the question is why is it costing so much? Because there were all kinds of cost estimates, I don't know, a couple of years ago. And
yeah, so when they actually did the original plan, they didn't realize that I'm not a transportation specialist, so the technical terms will elude me, but the barrier around the postings needed to be more robust to protect from against things like what we saw when the Key Bridge collapsed.
Okay.
And when they factored that in, when they actually got in, dredged it out, saw what they were dealing with, in real time, they made a new estimate. And so it just costs what it costs.
Okay.
We want to have a safe bridge. We want to have a bridge that is navigable. And to do that, it's going to cost that amount of money.
And my other question for the floor leader.
I'm also being whispered here, and you know, I think it's a good point, so I'm going to say it. You know, costs of construction continue to go up and have exponentially over the next year, ostensibly from tariffs. We don't control tariffs, but we should all stand in unity against tariffs, which are just tax increases on Americans, Marylanders, and in this case, leading to more cost on our key bridge.
Sure. I mean, look, I'm growing up in Baltimore. We used to have Bethlehem Steel. So if we actually made things in Baltimore, we wouldn't have to worry about tariffs. We also wouldn't have to worry about jobs. But having said that, one of my questions is, because I think I heard this, and actually I didn't know this, but I want to hear it again if it's true. You indicated that we, the people, have to issue bonds for the Maryland Transportation Authority. And the total amount will be $5 billion for the Key Bridge, from $4 to $5 billion, which is what this bill does. And the amendment is trying to make the legislature accountable for raising tolls. But my question is you indicated that once done, the federal government will reimburse Maryland.
The federal government has pledged 100% of the cost of the bridge to Maryland.
Okay, so why wouldn't you accept this as a friendly amendment if the state's going to be made whole at some point, that if anything, we reduce tolls and then we have the legislature accountable? Because if the state's going to be made whole on the $5 billion or whatever it ends up costing, who knows these days, with the contracting that is occurring from the General Assembly and from the various departments, and I agree that inflation is relevant, I do, believe me. Why not, just accept this particular amendment as a friendly amendment, because we are being made whole?
It's not a friendly amendment because it would increase the costs across the board for all of our projects, because it undermines the fiscal rating of the MDTA bonds. So you would pull out the financial underpinnings of all of our toll facilities across the state. And that's why it's not a friendly amendment.
So would you be acceptable then to the amendment narrowed to just having the legislature be responsible for increasing tolls?
No, for the same reasons.
Really? You don't think that the legislature should have any say on this when their bridge is going to end up costing nothing?
Sorry, that is not the question. The question is whether or not the bond rating authorities would see the legislature as being more stable in raising or lowering tolls than an independent, educated in transportation policy board.
Okay. So, Madam Speaker, just on the amendment, the legislature really should have a check and balance on the Transportation Authority for a variety of reasons. One is, and we kind of do with the Appropriations Committee, I think that's true, but we should also have it on the tolling part of it, because it sure seems like costs are out of control in the state. It sure does. And now that this has come to light, and quite frankly, I didn't know that until sitting here today, learning that the federal government is supposed to be making Maryland whole on this particular dollar amount. That's a lot of money. And so one would think that the legislature should engage to put limits on the tolling authority. Fair enough, sufficient with keeping a high bond rating, but nonetheless serve as the check and balance for this purpose, which is really our function. And so for all those reasons, I support this amendment.
The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say no. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, explain my vote.
Explaining your vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to clear something up real quick on the floor. The question was asked of the floor leader and the committee meter about a credit downgrade. And while I guess the number wasn't downgraded, it was revised outlook. Both S&P and Moody's last year revised MDTA's bond from stable to negative. That's true. So I just wanted to clear that up. The revision happened because of escalating debt services. So we're using the excuse of what Wall Street might think. At the same time, we're increasing and going after the same reason why they're rating the bonds as negative. Just want to throw that little clarification out, since I think there was a lot of cross chatter on this debate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, to explain my vote.
Just finished my transcript here. Has everyone recorded their vote? Now I'm going to go ahead and allow the chair of the Environment and Transportation. Go ahead, recognizing it.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just I want to clarify, the gentleman from St. Mary's County asked the chair of the subcommittee, was the bond rating downgraded, and it was not. If you ask her about the outlook, I'm sure she would have answered accurately that the outlook was downgraded. The bond rating was not, so she did answer the question accurately. The reason I'm voting to reject this amendment is because if you want to build the Key Bridge, you would bring an amendment that raises tolls so that we could do the construction that we need, right? But you're not serious about building the Key Bridge, apparently, so you haven't done that. Instead, what you've done is try to create a political issue.
Wait 1 second. It applies to everyone, parliamentarian.
You're right. I apologize, Madam Speaker. You can lecture me, but I do apologize. I shouldn't have phrased it that way.
Colleagues, please, again, please don't. I don't want to keep saying behave to everyone, but please do not impugn motives. Don't question people's intellect. I understand, again, these are very interesting and sometimes emotional debates, but if we could just stick to the topic, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
And I apologize to the maker of the amendment, the parliamentarian, and the speaker. I just get a little excited about transportation. The reason I'm voting...
And he does, trust me.
The reason I'm voting against the amendment is because it is going to I believe it will undermine our ability to rebuild the Key Bridge and maintain our other bridges, including the Harry Nice Bridge in Southern Maryland. That's why I'm voting to reject this amendment.
Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To explain my vote, you know, no one wants to build a Key Bridge more than I do. I was late this morning because I was coming through a very backed up tunnel. I drive in every day from Baltimore. So to my good chair, I hear you, sir. I want that bridge up more than anybody, but I view this amendment as a simple transparency measure. It provides a degree of accountability that does not exist currently inside of the system, and these are real dollars for someone driving through that tunnel or across that bridge every day. And if it goes up $1, if it goes up $2, that has a serious impact on my budget, and that's not even accounting for the opportunity cost that we're all experiencing now in the Baltimore region for how much longer we're all sitting on the road because of not having that bridge. So I think this is a good amendment. That's why I voted yes, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
As someone who represents District 6, I'm voting yes, and here's why. As someone who represents District 6, which is one of the connections of the Key Bridge, let me say that since the day the bridge fell, we've gotten almost zero input to this problem, and almost no one has spoke to us about what our needs are. I'd like to make a brief comparison. The Purple Line was estimated to cost approximately $5.5 billion. We're up to $9.5 billion. Initially, the Key Bridge rebuild was slated to cost about $1.7 billion. We're up to $5.3 billion, and we haven't even started the rebuild yet. The authority takes bonds to build the project, and we pay that debt off with tolls. And that's, I think, why the amendment is so important. For us, for District 6, people don't realize this, but exit 44, which is the Key Bridge exit, that is actually the entry onto state roads for the people of Dundalk. And that is tolled. So if the folks of Dundalk want to get onto state roads, they actually have to pay a toll to get on to 695. That is a curse that very few people in the state suffer from. And the result of that is the people of Dundalk have to pay a toll just to use state roads, or a 5 or 10 minute travel time is turned into a 25-minute travel time as those folks, the commercial traffic, the trucking traffic from the Port of Baltimore, cuts through community roads to get to the next exit. So this whole issue has really been a curse for our district. We really have had no input on this process, and the MTTA has done nothing but fault us to seek some kind of relief for a problem that has only gotten worse with the rise of Trade Point Atlantic and has only gotten worse with the fall of the Key Bridge. So I think this
Your time is up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The clerk will take the call. There being 97 votes in the negative, the amendment fails. Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore. Let me finish the script 1 second, please. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to explain my vote. I know it's already taken down.
You cannot.
Okay.
They took the call already.
Okay.
Thank you for understanding. Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk. Amendment 653724/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
This amendment will add more transparency and accountability to the Key Bridge project. We've had quite a bit of conversation here about the Key Bridge, how vital, important, necessary rebuilding this bridge is. And this amendment before you will just make sure that requests for proposals to finance, construct, operate, repair, or maintain a transportation facility project by the authority shall require a submission of proposals that include a project labor agreement and that do not include a project labor agreement. Now, the contractor working on the Key Bridge has voluntarily decided to use a PLA in their RFPs. And this would say include both. You don't have to use them both, but get both estimates with a PLA, without a PLA, and then publish them for the public to see. Why would you do this? So we can see what taxpayers could save or potentially not save. And additionally, knowing that we want federal government support for this, we want the feds to actually come through and pay for the bridge as they've said they're going to do. I know my friend from St. Mary's has a letter from the Trump administration that talks about some of the parameters of the RFP for this job. So I think this will protect us, it'll help us, and you know, there's no extra costs in this general contractor soliciting both bids with a PLA and without a PLA. So with that, Madam Speaker, I move the amendment.
Thank you. Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you for the amendment ahead of time. And I just want to go back to the body to say that this is a very simple bill. All it does is increase the bonding capacity. Project labor agreements is a totally different subject. It's a complex subject, and it's one that there has been a lot of conversation about. My recommendation is that a separate bill address project labor agreements through MDTA, if you'd like, through MDOT. I would encourage you to speak with MDOT about the topic. They're more than willing to sit down with you and discuss it, but it is not necessary on this bill. Right now, we just need to increase the bonding capacity, and I ask you to resist this amendment.
Recognizing the maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is exactly where this amendment belongs because it is about borrowing another $1 billion. Just to remind the body, in 2024, it was raised from $3 billion to $4 billion, and here we are back raising it from $4 billion to $5 billion. This is not anti-union, it's not anti-PLA, it's not delaying construction, and I have spoken with the MDTA, and they have, again, as I said, voluntarily decided the contractor is using PLAs, asking them to get an estimate, an RFP out where we can find out what is the cost differential. And for those that, you know, really want a PLA and we've been told it doesn't increase cost, then we'll know you're right. And if not, you know, the state can make a decision at that point, but they will indeed have all the information. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County who has been very patient.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
I would like the floor leader to answer a question, if he would, please. Thank you. This bonding authority is to pay for materials that the state's buying now, correct?
I'm sorry,
Or
I didn't hear
purchasing.
that last part.
The bonding authority is so the state can buy the materials now, correct? Or pay for the services or whatever. That's what this bonding authority is for, correct?
The bonding authority increases over a period of years to a cap of $5 billion. We don't immediately use that bonding authority this year.
Okay,
So it increases over the years of the construction of the bridge as the costs are incurred.
Okay, I was at one of the meetings, and it was explained to me very simply that the state will foot the bill up until the federal government reimburses them. And they're also going to actually get paid for any interest that's incurred during the construction of the bridge because of the way that labor and everything goes. The question I have is, since the federal government's actually paying for this, we're paying up front, but we're going to get it back. Can we be assured that the tolls will not go up because of this?
No, because we do not have the authority to increase or decrease tolls in the General Assembly.
But I mean, isn't this a good point? I mean, you know, if they're getting reimbursed 100% plus interest, I just want to make sure that the tolls don't go up.
The tolls.
And I want to be put on record that I'm saying this.
Okay, so for several years, the MDTA has been saying that the tolls will need to go up, in part because of the reduction of the tolls by the prior administration. So this really has nothing to do with whether or not the tolls will go up, because it's the entire tolling facilities that the MDTA is responsible for.
Okay, is the MDTA taking consideration that we're going to have a brand new key bridge when this is all said and done, and there won't be no maintenance, so will that reflect the cost of what's happening with the tolls? Because they won't have the maintenance, and I guess they have to put so much money in arrears to pay for any future repairs.
There is a long and complex process that the MDTA goes through, a public process that involves 9 public meetings when they want to change tolls. All of that information will be out in the public domain if they decide to increase tolls and when they decide to do that. I can go over that process with you off the floor if you'd like.
I very much appreciate it. I just want to be put on record that what we're talking about, possibilities of raising tolls because of the cost, there should be some savings to the MDTA because of the new bridge. And, you know, thank you.
You're welcome.
The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say no. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? The clerk will take the call. There being 93 votes in the negative, the amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill as to its title? Recognizing the gentleman for Western Maryland. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
I don't have an amendment, but I had a question for the floor leader, if I could. So
Will the floor leader please rise? Thank you so much.
Good morning. There's a lot of discussion about reimbursements from the feds, but what about reimbursement from the shipping company? Do we have any updates on that for the body? Because I know Maryland, I think, filed a lawsuit, and I don't know where that stands, and I'm not sure. Because really, the shipping company should be on the hook for this, not the taxpayers.
Exactly, and that is something we agree on, and they are in process now. The Attorney General's office is working with the insurance companies and with the shipping company to make sure that they're held accountable. We do not have a final outcome yet, but that is part of the equation.
Do we have any idea when that might be resolved?
It's going to be several months, if not more.
But
I mean, we're dealing with insurance companies.
And I assume we're talking about billions potential recovery there, or no?
I think it depends on what the liability is determined to be by the final arbiter.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill as to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Quorum call. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Anyone in the back? Let's wait for them to come. Okay. Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 members present, the House is still in session. House third reading calendar number 4. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 3, Higher Ed Non-Resident Tuition Exemption for Dependents of State or Local Public Safety Employees.
Is there any debate? Oh. House Bill 3 is on third reading and it's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative and 0 in the negative, House Bill number 3, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 20, Baltimore City Alcoholic Beverages Related Event Promoters Permit.
House Bill number 20 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative and 1 vote in the negative, House Bill number 20, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 60, Sickle Cell Disease Institutions of Higher Education Policies, Procedures, and Educational Campaigns.
House Bill number 60 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative and 4 votes in the negative, House Bill number 60, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 273, Health Insurance Small Business Health Options Program Shop Enrollment Effective Dates.
House Bill number 273 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative and 0 votes in the negative, House Bill number 273, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 275, Medicare Supplement Policies, Issuance Requirements.
House Bill number 275 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative and 0 votes in the negative, House Bill number 275, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 277, Insurance Third-Party Administrators Enforcement.
House Bill number 277 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? What happened? Huh? All right, you slow me down? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk would take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative and 0 votes in the negative, House Bill number 277, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Senate third reading calendar number 1. The clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 17, Baltimore City Alcoholic Beverages Related Event Promoters Permit.
Senate Bill number 17 is on third reading and final passage. Are there any amendments to the bill as to its title? Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative and 0 votes in the negatives, Senate Bill 17, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Senate third reading calendar number 2. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 240, Senate Bill 245, Public Safety Immigration Enforcement Agreements Prohibition.
Senate Bill 245 is on third reading and final passage. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Is there any debate? Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank
and he
you.
said yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've talked an awful lot about this bill, and I don't mean to belabor it, but since we last talked, I think something very important has occurred if you're paying attention to the national scene, which obviously is what's driving this bill and this policy as opposed to particularized concerns in Maryland communities. What has occurred that should matter to all of you? Well, earlier today, the director of the Homeland Security Division that encompasses ICE, Tom Homan, from Minneapolis, Minnesota, announced that there will be a significant retrenchment and removal of a surge of federal officers into the Minneapolis-St. Paul greater metropolitan area to enforce immigration laws of the United States. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Why is that happening? Is it happening because of media attention? Probably not. Is it happening because of political concerns? Our politics are so polarized on this issue? Probably not. Here is why the federal authorities, who, despite whatever you may think, are going to control this issue now and for the next several years in this direction. Here's why. Because authorities in Minnesota and in the greater Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area, law enforcement authorities, local authorities, state authorities, have for the very first time agreed to allow immigration enforcement in much the same manner as conducted formerly through 287G. I want to read this. I don't normally pick my phone up and read a quote, but I want to make sure we get the words right. This is Tom Homan today, this morning. We now have the ability to arrest criminal aliens in the safety and security of jails throughout the state at the time they're being released, like we've done in other states, said Homan. I've also directed the strategic placement of officers in certain areas throughout the states that respond quickly to sheriffs that want to release somebody and notify us. We need to be nearby so that they don't hold them unnecessarily. So we worked together on a strategic plan to reassign officers in these key locations, arresting a public safety threat. And the safety and security of a jail is safer for the alien. It's safer for the officer and safer for the community. I think we all can agree on that. Not here. Because what's happening when reasonable people get together and try to address this reasonably and say we do not want surges of individuals heavily armed into communities and schools and streets and neighborhoods, but we do want to go ahead and make sure that we arrest individuals who are not properly in the United States subject to our federal immigration laws and have been charged or convicted or are being held in a jail cell. When reasonable people get together and do that, they produce results that look remarkably like the 287G program. And that's what's happening tonight in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that's what's solving the crisis and the violence and the unrest and the chaos and the riots. It's not what we're doing. It's not what we're doing. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
And I want to thank the minority leader for bringing us up to speed as to what is going on in the great state of Minnesota. This bill is regarding the great state of Maryland. And so, you know, the folks in Minnesota, they are going to make the best decisions that they think is in their best interest for their community. And I think that we had a robust debate previously about this legislation, and we have heard from a number of our constituents all across the state that they believe that this is in the best interest of the great state of Maryland. And so for those reasons, I am urging my colleagues to do a green vote on this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome. Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
I would also like to talk about what's happening in the great state of Maryland. The Department of Homeland Security regularly does a worst of the worst, where they talk about the criminals that are deported through coordination with the federal government. They yesterday highlighted 4 criminals, and 2 of them were from Maryland. I'd like to touch on those briefly. Daniel Pineda Velasquez, a criminal alien from Guatemala, convicted for sex abuse of a minor, rape, third-degree sex offense, assault, and fourth-degree sex contact in Prince George's. Jose Salvador Portillo Henriquez, a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador, convicted for rape in Baltimore County, Maryland. That's what's happening in the great state of Maryland. These local 287G programs are due process. They provide a legal mechanism for our jurisdictions to work with the federal government. And as we know from the numbers, the overwhelming majority are convicted criminals. And for some reason, most of them seems to be sex crime related. What we're seeing with this bill, what it does is it bans the issuance of warrants, and it bans law enforcement investigations. This bill is a law enforcement lockdown. And I don't know why we continue to come back to this well of attacking police, diminishing their authority, limiting their ability to do things that are so fundamentally a part of law enforcement. And we're seeing Maryland, as we further increasingly accept this open borders policy of immigration, we see that we are disproportionately becoming a source where we protect violent criminals who are also violating federal immigration law. So I'll be a red vote today because, frankly, I object to locking down law enforcement. I object to making due process illegal. I think regardless of where you live or what party you are, this is a horrendous strike against due process. And I think we need to protect our communities here today. So I'll be a no.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I want to simplify the conversation once again and explain circumstances. We cannot, in good conscience, allow these programs to continue to operate when we have some counties that have 100% of the people processed through these programs that have no criminal conviction. Those are the facts, and that's what the data indicates. Oh, you're shaking your head, but those are the facts. There are years where 100% of the people did not have a criminal conviction. And right now, even those who did an offense, it might be a traffic offense. And they cannot assure us, those 287G counties cannot assure us that people processed for traffic offenses aren't going to be sent to CCOT in El Salvador or a third country that they've never visited. How can we allow a program like that to operate in Maryland? And while that's happening, I would say this bill does a very simple thing. It maintains public safety. How does it do that? It restores trust in local police. This bill means that you can call 911 anywhere in the state and not worry that you are calling ICE. And that is not true today.
Recognizing the lady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I rise today to tell you why I'm voting against this, and I hope you will as well. The ERO Baltimore, which is Maryland's ICE, leads the nation in sex offender apprehensions. Leads the nation. And let me tell you a story about a victim that one of the ICE officers told me about. They had, there was a sex offender that had done unspeakable things to little girls. who was let out of jail, a local jail, and he went back into the community. And the little girl who had told police about him was in a bodega with her mother and looked over and saw this sex offender who had done unspeakable things to a little girl. And he was out in the bodega. You want to talk about losing trust in the judicial system. When she had the courage to tell the police and tell her mom what happened to her, and instead of letting ICE pick him up and deport him, she had to see him in her local bodega. And for her, I stand to vote against this bill, and for the many, many other children and women who are victims of sex offenses that ICE Maryland is focused on picking up and deporting. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the majority whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I rise today to talk about why I'm going to give this bill another green vote and why I think you should join me in doing that as well. This bill is essential. We have real responsibilities to protect our communities, and the 287G program, unfortunately, is just not meeting the moment. We have a responsibility to make sure that our neighbors, just as the majority leader said, can pick up the phone and call 911 when their children are being assaulted and know that they won't be deported for doing so. This is our calling right now, ensuring that we can do everything we can for the most vulnerable among us. There was a lot discussed on this floor about wanting to protect communities. I think the majority has been very clear on making sure that we protect victims. I think the majority has been very clear on making sure that we have law enforcement here in our state that actually protects every person in our state. Ensuring that we prohibit these agreements makes our local law enforcement able to do their job fully. It empowers them to focus on the local issues that affect our communities and not put them into this national debate. I think there are just fundamental differences between the majority and the minority when it comes to who belongs here. And we can have that debate all day, every day. But the reality is, all of the scenarios that are mentioned still have due process. If a child is assaulted, if someone is murdered, if something horrendous happens in our community, there are still local law enforcement officers who are going to arrest, apprehend. Our state attorneys are going to charge and hopefully get a conviction if the evidence allows for one. And then after they serve their time, because with every crime there's a victim and they deserve justice, they will notify ICE, and then ICE gets to do their part in this and go and apprehend that person if they deem necessary. That doesn't change in this bill. What it does change is that for a traffic offense, you don't have to be on a plane tomorrow because of it. The realities are, the federal administration is very aggressive, extremely aggressive in who they think belongs here and who doesn't. And so because of those realities, we have to do what we have to do here in Maryland, and that is protect every persons who are here. And that is what a green vote on this bill does. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome. Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to respond briefly to a couple of the claims made on the floor here. It was said by the majority leader that there are cases where jurisdictions will handle and refer people that have no criminal convictions. Yes, under some of the models, under 287G, there are jurisdictions that will do background checks and find that there are folks here who have no criminal convictions, but who are wanted because there's a federal warrant, there's some kind of international warrant. We actually dealt with this situation in judiciary last year. And if I recall, we moved legislation that actually detained folks who were detained locally. And the idea in that bill was that we were going to do so because we recognized there were circumstances where the federal government or international governments were seeking the folks who, despite having no convictions, were wanted. So that is a completely legitimate function of the 287G programs. And, you know, I reject the comments from the gentleman from Baltimore County. There are a lot of people who don't feel that the people sitting on this floor are protecting our communities. Rachel Morin's family, the girl who was violently raped and murdered in a hiking trail in Harford County, her family doesn't think that we're doing enough to protect our communities. There are a lot of people that think locking down law enforcement, taking away some of the fundamental things they do, issuing warrants, doing investigations, are we really at the point where there's been so much discussion today where we've questioned the intentions of our law enforcement officers. And I think that's wrong, and I think the results that we're seeing, despite the 287G programs, that the stories we see every day. Maryland has 50% of the worst violent criminals who are deported of the entire country in a single day. I think that speaks volumes. I think this bill is the wrong measure to take. That's why I'll be a no.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I just want to correct the record. This bill does not get rid of judicial warrants. This bill does not get rid of ICE detainer warrants. Those warrants will still exist. They will still be in effect once this bill passes. And law enforcement, with regards to judicial warrants, will still be under an obligation to adhere to those judicial warrants once this bill passes. This bill does not modify any of those things, contrary to the good gentleman from Baltimore County. And the examples that was given by the good gentleman are in jurisdictions where 287G agreements do not exist. Again, law enforcement is doing their job in arresting and picking up in our judicial system, convicting the worst of the worst within our communities without these agreements being in place. So again, I urge everyone to cast a green vote because I know that's what I will be doing today. Thank you.
Recognizing the delegate from Cecil County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
I rise today to urge a red vote, and I want to bring it back to my district. As you heard me speak on this topic, some of the bills we've had, I mentioned that because of our proximity, we are located directly adjacent to Pennsylvania and Delaware. We're equidistant from these city centers. And the reality is that we got that high intensity drug trafficking designation because of 95, and the population that is selling drugs in our community, they are transient, they move. And when they are arrested and apprehended, they come to our local detention center, which is managed by our sheriff. The information that I'm about to share with you is something that you can Google. It's available, it's public information. The number one arrest reason in Cecil County is CDS. It's drugs. So the folks that are being intercepted in Cecil are there to sell poison to the people that live in our community. We have a huge addiction problem in Cecil. And this is a crucial tool that removes those folks from my community where my constituents live, and it is having an impact. Those are real numbers. That's why I want to bring it back home, and that's why you should be voting right on this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the delegate from Howard County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I had not planned on rising, but I guess in this dystopian world where up is down and down is up, and if you repeat, if you misspeak often enough, it starts to sound like the truth. It just seemed like I needed to wrap my head and explain why I'm going to be voting green on this. We seem to be at a time where there's a tug-of-war with law and Constitution. I don't mean law against Constitution, but with the law and Constitution pulling on one side and power to just do whatever pulling on the other side. And when we hear these numbers and about the drugs, which are a huge problem we're starting to get a handle on, I have a problem with trying to make the correlation that if there are drugs, there must be immigrants, as if we don't have plenty of homegrown drug dealers and lawbreakers. So I have an issue with that. I'd also like to say that as far as the numbers that were cited earlier, about the number of the worst of the worst. The two that came from Maryland that were deported or found to be, and as the floor leader has pointed out, that's without the 287G agreements that law enforcement is finding these worst of the worst. That if I had to operate on 140 of you and take out your appendix to find 2 bad appendices, that would not be a good record. So if we have to find 140 good law-abiding residents in order to get rid of 2 worst of the worst, I don't think that's success. I think that's shameful. Thank you. And that's why I'm voting yes in red and green.
Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County, and then I'll come back to you. The first one to my right.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I stood up on the House bill on this, and I mentioned a number of reasons why I'm going to be voting green. And I'm just going to mention 2 right now because I'm getting a little frustrated with some of the conversation back and forth, and I hope that we can all feel good about how we vote, and I will feel very good about voting green. The due process argument. The fact of the matter is that if we want due process, we need to make sure that if somebody is charged with a crime, that the prosecution has an opportunity to prosecute, hopefully convict if they are guilty, find them guilty, let them serve their sentence. That would be due process. If we are deporting them before this all goes on, that's not going to be due process, and the victims are going to feel left out of the process. So I think that it's good that we have our system, our criminal system work, make sure that if these people are convicted, these worst of the worst are convicted, we then let them serve their time. And according to the law and according to the process that happens in Maryland, at the end of their term, ICE is alerted and ICE can choose to come and get them. That's the way it works. This bill makes no changes to that. That's the way it should work. That's due process. That's why I want to vote green. But there's even a more important reason, which the gentleman from Prince George's County mentioned and a number of other people mentioned, that to me is the real reason why we should be voting for this. And that is because we want to trust our police. We want our community policing to work. We want to believe that our police are out there to help all of us. Now, I understand the other side is suggesting that if you don't have the police helping to deport people, that they can't be trusted. And I just don't find that to be reasonable or a reason to support this. I believe that I want my police to be there to help keep my community safe. I don't want to question whether they're doing things that are going to make people scared, make people hide, make people feel as if they should be shamed, regardless of where they're from or who they are, whether they're citizens, which many citizens feel that way, or non-citizens. So I'm voting green on this because I believe that we in Maryland want to make sure that our communities feel safe with our police. And that's what this bill will do. Thank you.
Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County. Thank you for being patient.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
I
welcome.
rise today to support this bill, not because of ideology, but because of responsibility. This bill is about clear roles and trust. Immigration enforcement, as all of us know, is the job of federal government, and policing in our state is the job of state and local enforcement. When we mix those two roles, the system does not work the way it should, and the communities suffer, and our communities have been suffering. Madam Speaker, let me be clear about what this bill does not do. It does not violate federal law. It does not require cooperation or information sharing, and it does not protect anyone who commits crime. Crime is crime, and law enforcement will continue to address it. What this bill does address is program like 287G, which enforce civil immigration law, not the criminal law. Civil immigration violation are not the public safety threats. Programs like this rely on administrative detainer, not just signed warrants, that we can trust and have not proven record of reducing crime. That is not public safety. And when local police are asked to act as immigration agent, real harm follows that we have been witnessing. Victims stop calling 911. Witnesses stop cooperating. Domestic violence and labor exploitation go unnoticed. That makes everyone less safe, citizens and immigrants alike. That clarity strengthens the trust, protects constitutional values, and make our state safer. For those reasons, clarity, legality, and trust, I proudly support this bill. Thank you.
Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll be very brief. I didn't plan to speak, but I did hear for about 30 or 40 minutes about how we have to work with our federal government in order to pay our bills when it comes to infrastructure. But in public safety, a bill like this, we absolutely do not want to work with our federal government to get rid of, as the good lady from Baltimore County said, sex offenders, other violent criminals in some cases. And we should never, yes, we do have a fundamental difference on who we believe belongs here. We believe people that belong here that have followed our immigration law. That doesn't make them bad people. It simply means they are here in violation of congressional laws voted on over decades of immigration policy by both Republican and Democrat. Again, I am voting red here because I believe that in our prison system, we should work with our federal partners, just like we're going to work with our federal partners to pay our bills. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the delegate from Prince George's County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And colleagues, I don't rise too often, and I felt moved today to do so because I hear Prince George's County referred to so many different times. My district specifically has been targeted fiercely with ICE enforcement over the last 6 to 8 months. I'm here supporting this piece of legislation. I spoke to a former Prince George's County state's attorney about how they were able to actually convict so many MS-13 gang members back in the early 2000s. And the individual said, well, it takes law enforcement working with the community. Like the community that is neighbor, next door to the individuals who are committing some of these heinous crimes that have been described. But those neighbors aren't willing to come and speak to the police if they don't know whether or not ICE will be called on them as a retaliatory situation there. If we want to talk about public safety, we have to be very clear. We need the community to play its role and to actually partner with our law enforcement agency. So for all these reasons, I'm proudly voting green, and I hope that everyone will also join law enforcement in making sure that individuals feel that they can reach out and ring the alarm. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome. Recognizing the gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I rise to seal my red vote on this. I think if we're truly looking after Marylanders, this bill is not helping people from Maryland. It's helping people in some respects, but I work for the state of Maryland. I represent the people of Maryland, and I think in the true sense of the word, there are circumstances, but I'll be a red on this vote. It just doesn't make sense to continually banter this back and forth this way. It's not going to make Marylanders safer.
Okay. Seeing no other debate, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk would take the call. There being 99 votes in the affirmative and 38 votes in the negative, Senate Bill 245, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. I want to thank everyone for a civil discussion. Really appreciate it. Letters of reassignment. The clerk will read the letter.
House Bill 849, reassigned to Ways and Means and Appropriation. House Bill 915, reassigned to Appropriation. House Bill 999, reassigned to Government, Labor, and Election.
Hearing no objection, the letters are ordered journalized. This ends our work this morning. After we're done with the work, we're going to have special guests that will come to the chamber. They're in the Senate now. We're going to start now with committee assignments, and we'll start with appropriations,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The full committee will not meet, but please listen for subcommittee announcements.
economic matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Subcommittee chairs, we will be meeting at 12 noon, or if we go over, immediately following floor, followed by 1 p.m. bill hearings.
Environment and transportation,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Environment and Transportation Committee will meet at 1 p.m. for bill hearings.
government, labor, and elections.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. GLE will meet at 1 p.m. for a briefing, at 2 p.m. for bill hearings, and our subcommittee chairs will meet after bill hearings.
Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Health Committee will be meeting at 1:30 for bill hearings. Please listen for subcommittee announcements.
Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Judiciary will have a briefing today at noon with members of the Health and Human Services Subcommittee of Appropriations. The briefing is on the Maryland foster care system, and following the briefing, hopefully at 1 p.m., we will be having bill hearings.
Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will meet for bill hearings at 1 p.m. today.
We're going to pause at this moment and invite some special guests that will come into the chamber. Do we take this off or no? Good morning. As Speaker of the Maryland House of Delegates, it is my great privilege to welcome you to our House. Seeing you here, we're reminded that this is a country that welcomes all kinds of people from all over the world, representing a wide variety of religious practices and cultural differences and traditions. That diversity is one of the most beautiful things about the U.S. and I truly believe it is the source of strength. As the saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And in this case, your journey has been even longer, 2,300 miles. The first step of this walk of peace and walk for peace took place 4 months ago in Fort Worth, Texas. And today it ends right here. And we're so blessed by your presence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Respected government official. This is very special for me. I have never stand in front of all of you to talk like this. And this is something that is very special moment that you, as a Maryland state, treating us as a walk for peace venerable monks. We are very grateful and honored to be here this morning. And we always wish that all of you and all of the people who live in the state of Maryland will always be well, be happy, and be peaceful. And that everyone will practicing mindfulness to bring peace to their own, to themselves, and supporting each other to have peace for this state, for this nation, and the world. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for this last state, that for this type of welcoming. Thank you so much.
Will the clerk please read the resolution in full?
Be it hereby known to all that the House of Delegates of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to the Theravada Buddhist monks in recognition of your Walk for Peace, a 108-day, 2,300-mile journey to raise awareness of inner peace and mindfulness across America and the world. The entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution to be presented on this 12th day of February 2026.
Thank you so much. Stay blessed. Thank you. Many blessings to you. Thank you. Have a blessed journey. Thank you for visiting us and for bringing peace to our house. We welcome it. Have a blessed day. Thank you. I want to take a minute to thank the Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor Runa Miller, thank you for making this possible. Thank you for your leadership to our state and for the love that you have for us. You have a blessed day. Thank you. Thank you so much. We hope you have a blessed trip. Thank you for the honor. Secretary of State, thank you for being with us. Really appreciate your leadership. And to all the volunteers, thank you so much for visiting us. Have a blessed day. And everyone that made this possible, thank you so much. We're going to continue now with subcommittee announcements. I'm first going to recognize the lady from Baltimore City, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Education and Economic Development Subcommittee of Appropriations will be meeting for budget hearings in the Appropriations Hearing Room at 1 p.m.
Thank you. Recognizing the lady from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Non-Energy Utilities Subcommittee of the Environment and Transportation Committee will be meeting today right after bill hearings on Zoom. And Madam Speaker, if I may, I want to mention a special briefing that we're doing tomorrow on the rupture of the sewer intercept on the Potomac River that is affecting Maryland greatly. The briefing will be at 2 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, on Zoom. The panelists will include DC Water, Maryland Department of the Environment, the Potomac River Keepers, and a scientist from the University of Maryland. Please tune us in on live stream. Thank you very much.
Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the Housing and Real Property Subcommittee will be meeting right after bill hearings today. Thank you so much.
Recognizing the gentleman from Montgomery County, then I'm coming here to the middle.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
the
welcome.
Public Safety and Administration Subcommittee of Appropriations will be meeting today at 1 p.m. for budget hearings in room 150.
Thank you. Recognizing the delegate from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Colleagues, the Health and Social Services Subcommittee of Appropriations will be joining the House Judiciary Committee for a joint briefing. I'm really excited to be back in the old stomping grounds at noon on the Maryland foster care system. Thank you.
Thank you. Recognizing the delegate from Montgomery County, then Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, the Elder Care Subcommittee will be having its inaugural meeting today, 15 minutes after floor. Thank you.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam
You're
Speaker.
welcome.
Members of the Motor Vehicle and Transportation Subcommittee will meet virtually today after bill hearings. Please listen for announcements, watch your text messages. Thank you.
Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
The Labor Subcommittee of Government, Labor, and Elections will be holding its inaugural organizational meeting at 12:30 today on Zoom.
Thank you. Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County. I saw you.
I know. It's getting to be a regular occurrence, isn't
I
it?
am.
Thank you
Training
so much,
myself.
Madam. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
The K-12 Education Subcommittee of Ways and Means will meet at 12:15 today. Some votes and some discussion.
Any other, recognizing the delegate from Howard County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Public Health, Minority Health Disparities Subcommittee of the Health Committee will be meeting, I guess, about 45 minutes after floor ends.
Thank you very much. Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam
You're
Speaker.
welcome.
The Estates and Trust Subcommittee will not be meeting today, and please check your emails for the new date and time.
Any other subcommittee announcements? Seeing none, we're going on to delegation announcements. Recognizing the delegate from Anne Arundel County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Tomorrow, Anne Arundel County will meet on Zoom at 7:30 for their delegation meeting. Please arrive on time. We have many bills and votes. Thank you.
Recognizing the delegate from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Frederick County delegation will meet tomorrow morning on Zoom at 9 a.m. Thank you.
You're welcome. Recognizing the delegate from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Montgomery County House delegation will meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. virtually.
Recognizing the delegate from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
The Eastern Shore delegation wants to remind the body that tonight your favorite event is taking place at the Graduate from 5:30 to 7:30, the Taste of the Eastern Shore. And don't forget the soft crabs every year. And then we
That's
have
what you had to say first.
we have oysters from the Eastern Shore, not from the Potomac. Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll be there. Any other delegation announcement? Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County. I'm sorry. Go ahead. The Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Eastern Shore delegation will be meeting via Zoom at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Thank you for being patient. Recognizing the delegate from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Prince George's County delegation will be meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. via Zoom, and today at noon there will be special treats in room 207 for members of the Prince George's County House delegation. Thank you. Happy
Thank you.
Valentine's Day.
Thank you. Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you again, Madam Speaker.
You're
By the
welcome.
way, I'm looking forward to them oysters tonight, okay? They'll be very good. Baltimore County delegation will be meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Recognizing the delegate who was patient from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Members of the Baltimore City House delegation will meet virtually tomorrow, Friday at 9 a.m. Check your calendar and text for details.
Any other delegation announcements? Seeing none, caucus announcements. Recognizing the delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you,
welcome.
Madam Speaker. The Maryland Legislative Asian American Pacific Islander Caucus will meet virtually tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. The agenda include API caucus leadership elections and voting on the API support bill. If you are seeking a caucus support letter, please submit your request as soon as possible so it can be considered before the deadline, February 28, 2025 by 5 p.m. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other caucus announcement? Recognizing the delegate from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Colleagues, a note that the Maryland Legislative Transit Caucus has extended its endorsement period because of the bill filing deadline to this Monday, February 16th. So if you have a bill that you're interested in being endorsed by the Transit Caucus, please have that bill submitted to our office by then. We'll be sending out an email later today with the link to remind you all. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And that reminds me that today is an important day. 5 o'clock is an important hour. So please make sure that you turn in your bills, okay? Thank you so much, because I heard that the lady who chairs the Rules Committee is tough, and she will not let them out, not even with a good lawyer, even if you hire the delegate in the back. Any other caucus announcements? Seeing none, we're going to go now to the Black History Moment, and I'm going to recognize the delegate from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to say delegate's name?
Permission granted.
Colleagues, the person I want to share with you today, in my opinion, is a champion of business excellence. Without his vision and overall accomplishments, professionally, there will be no me. Outside of my capacity as delegate, I proudly serve as the Minority Veteran and Small Business Liaison and Compliance Administrator for one of our state agencies. The champion I am speaking of is Congressman Perrin James Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell was born and raised in Baltimore, a graduate of Garnett Elementary, Booker T. Washington Junior High, and a graduate of the Frederick Douglass High School in 1940. Mr. Mitchell joined the United States Army and served as a commissioned officer of the 92nd Infantry Division during World War II, receiving a Purple Heart. After service, he attended and graduated from Morgan State College with honors in 1950. After graduating from Morgan State, Mr. Mitchell wanted to pursue a master's degree from the University of Maryland. However, segregation barred him from attending. With the advice and support from his brother Clarence Jr., who was a member of the NAACP, and his brother's mother-in-law, Lily Mae Carroll Jackson, who was the state NAACP director, along with Thurgood Marshall as counsel, Mr. Mitchell successfully sued the University of Maryland for admittance to the graduate school to become the first black graduate student. He eventually earned his master's degree in sociology in 1952. After receiving his master's degree, Mr. Mitchell returned to teach at his alma mater, Morgan State College. During the late 1960s, Mr. Mitchell served as executive director of Baltimore's anti-poverty program and executive secretary for the Maryland Human Relations Commission, which he played a pivotal role in the enactment and implementation of Maryland's statewide public accommodation law. In 1970, Mr. Mitchell's accomplishments became even more celebrated when he was elected as Maryland's first black congressman, serving in the 7th Congressional District, which comprised of approximately 2/3 of Baltimore City and a portion of Baltimore County. Congressman Mitchell was one of the founding members of the Congressional Black Caucus. During his 16-year career, Congressman Mitchell fought for affirmative action legislation. As chairman of the Small Business Committee, Congressman Mitchell attached an amendment to President Carter's $4 billion public $4 billion public works bill that compelled state and local government seeking federal grants to set aside 10% of the funds to retain minority firms as prime contractors and subcontractors. At the end of the day, $625 million, which is 15%, were awarded and paid to minority firms. He also introduced legislation which in 1978 became public law that requires proposals from contractors to spell out their goals for awarding contracts to minority contractors. This law potentially provides access to billions of dollars for certified minority businesses. In addition, Congressman Mitchell's amendment to the $71 billion Surface Transportation Act of 1980 required a 10% set aside for minority businesses. Through Congressman Mitchell's government service, he served as whip at large, senior member of the House Banking, Finance, and Urban Affairs Committee of its subcommittee on the Domestic Monetary Policy, chairman of the Small Business Committee, chairman of its task force on minority enterprise, chairman of the subcommittee on housing, minority enterprise, and economic development of the Congressional Black Caucus, a member of the Joint Economic Committee, and he served on the Presidential Commission on the National Agenda for the 80s. Congressman Mitchell holds a total of 11 honorary degrees, which includes 5 Dr. Humane letters, 4 Doctor of Law, and 2 Doctor of Social Sciences. Thanks to Senator Nick Charles and Delegate N. Scott Phillips for maintaining the legacy of Congressman Mitchell by sponsoring legislation during the 2024 session with the Perrin J. Mitchell MBE Prime Contracting Act. Congressman Mitchell once said, "If you believe in fighting racism, you make a commitment for the rest of your life. There's no getting off that train. You can't say, I've put 5 years in fighting racism and now I am finished. No, you are not finished. Our job is to fight it every day, to continue to shove it down, and when it rises up, to shove it down even harder." My champion, Congressman Perrin J. Mitchell.
Thank you for the Black History moment. Now we're going to go on to personal or guest announcements. I'm recognizing the gentleman from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
My pleasure.
May I have permission to use the delegate's name?
Permission granted.
I would like you to join Delegate Chris Fair and I in welcoming a very special guest. Jeannie Winston Muir just completed a long and storied career as the Director of Student Life at Frederick Community College, where I had the pleasure of serving with her for 25 years as a member of the faculty. During that time, she touched, changed, improved, and enriched countless lives, including Delegate Fair's and including mine. For many years before I joined this body, Jeannie and I would bring groups of students here for Student Advocacy Day, which in part led to my motivation for desiring to join this chamber. She's traveling today with Jill Martin, Tricia Bauer, and Mara Graham. Will you please help me in welcoming them in the rear gallery?
Welcome.
And Madam Speaker,
yes,
there will be a meeting of the Karaoke Caucus this evening.
Okay, I'm not allowed because I can't sing. Go ahead. Recognizing the chair of the Judiciary Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I need to amend the previous announcements for the House Judiciary Committee. We will be beginning our briefing at 12:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Recognizing the gentleman from Anne Arundel County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use the delegate's name?
Permission granted.
On behalf of Delegate Dana Jones and myself, we hope that you will join us in welcoming student leaders from Wiley H. Bates Middle School from just down the street. I think they might be in the gallery, so join us in welcoming them. Thank you.
Welcome. Recognizing the delegate from Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
My pleasure.
So we had the Blood Caucus a few days ago. Yeah. We all heard about the plunge into the deep, cold, icy waters. But you thought I forgot that you need to bring your skin. So this is the day, fellow members, that you bring your skin to the assembly room of the Treasury Building, where the Maryland Dermatology Association will be checking you out for all kinds of skin diseases. We are approaching Valentine's Day. Love yourself so you can love others. Come by. They'll be there to 1:30. Show it off. Take it off. Show them your skin.
Oh, my goodness.
And let's all be healthy. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not even going to go there. Who else can I recognize so we can get out of here? Recognizing, I'm sorry. It is really important. Recognizing the delegate from the Eastern Shore.
Does that mean I'm important?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. This good day for me. I have the privilege today to introduce the doctor of the day, but he's a personal friend, and I just want to touch a little bit on his public service when I do this. So I ask the body to please join me in welcoming the doctor of the day, Dr. Eric Wargotz from Queen Anne's County. Dr. Wargotz was also inaugurated as the 178th president of MedChi in October of 2025. Congratulations. But I'm not done. But I'd also like to talk a little bit about him. Dr. Wargotz served on the Queen Anne's County Board of Commissioners, pre-me actually, and was instrumental in the establishment of the first freestanding emergency facility in Maryland. Lastly, Dr. Wargotz still serves and has served on the bench of the Judge of the Orphans Court since 2014. Pretty good guy here, guys. Welcome him.
Welcome. Welcome to our house. Any other person or guest announcement? Recognizing the chair of the Women Caucus, the lady from Anne Arundel.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I just want to thank and welcome Megan Studley to our office. She's here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Recognizing the delegate from Carroll County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I introduce a guest, I just want to encourage the body, unless you want to end up on Maryland Matters, you probably do want to keep it on, all right? Let's not get in trouble now. I'd like to introduce a guest. I have somebody down here from Frederick County who's shadowing me for the day. He's from currently goes to Frederick Community College, and he'll be transferring hopefully to University of Maryland. So please welcome Christian Browning up there in the gallery. Thanks.
Recognizing the delegate from Howard County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're
Permission
welcome.
to use former delegate's name?
Permission granted.
I would like to, on behalf of everyone in this chamber that received a beautiful rose today, to thank former delegate Kevin M. Harris, now a senator, but his actions prove he belongs in the House.
That's right. We're sending him love and gratitude. Any other? Recognizing the delegate from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
You see I'm wearing my purple tie today because today is 100 Qs in Annapolis. You'll see all of us in our purple. We'll be coming in a meeting with you talking about various legislation. And I do want to say the official name is Omega Sci-Fi Incorporated. So they'll be with you today. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other personal or guest announcement? Seeing none, we are now going to do quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Okay, everyone in? Okay, give them 1 second. Has everyone recorded their presence? The clerk will take the call. There being 137 members present, the House is still in session. Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stands adjourned until Friday, February 13th at 11 o'clock a.m.
Thank you, everyone. Have a